Good morning. We're rather late getting out. We've had a technical hitch. We've now had the flying vicar come in, sort us out, put in a new camera, and hopefully that's the media that we're getting to you via. Just a couple of announcements before we go to our guests. You may be aware, and probably by the time you're looking at this, the Sizewell C consultation, the first one to get outside of the perimeter of Sizewell C, and is taking place at Suffolk University College at the Waterside building, is running all day today from, I believe, 10 o'clock until 4. How many other consultations there are, and whether, I don't believe there are any scheduled to come into the Felixstowe Peninsula, so obviously we don't have very much of a profile in this whole process, but if you feel differently, then I would suggest you either contact the station or Sizewell C itself and find out where they're going. We'll update you as and when we know a little more. Further announcement, and this is tomorrow being the 8th of January, there is a health exhibition that will be taking place at the Orwell Hotel. Apparently there will be something like 40 odd different groups that will be there dealing with health and well-being, which is a huge topic. There will be some dealing with specific types of illnesses that could be advising you, whether you do or a family member does. It's something that I would, if you do have 10 minutes, get there. They're going to give you a cup of tea or coffee and a bicky, so something well do. We hope to cover it hopefully extensively, and start to deliver contact information on the station for you to be able to take further into the future. So hopefully that's of interest to you. Now let us move this morning, which I understand is 7th of December 2013, isn't it? To our two guests. Now, can I ask you to introduce yourself, because you've got an interesting surname.
I have indeed, yes.
And the pronunciation has no connection at all to the words that are in it. Would that be about right?
Yeah, about right.
So your name?
My name is Sharon Yanutzi.
Right. And your name, sir?
John Sills.
Right. And you are both residents of the Trimleys, is that right?
We
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
And the reason you're here today is to give some good news, which is nice to have, with regards to the Trimley Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So John, you've been running it for how long?
9 years.
Man and boy.
Yes.
So 9 years. That's a long time. So in that time, the support you've had has grown, been static?
Been very static.
Right.
Just my wife and myself have run the carnival with a treasurer to help out at various times.
Right.
On the actual day, we've had to bring about a dozen people in from around the country to help support the carnival.
Right. So the local folk that are living in the Trimleys, they're happy to come and take part in it, but they're not so keen on the committee and the doing.
Correct.
How do we change that? If we knew we'd have done it.
I think how we change it, we passed it on to
Yes.
Sharon here,
Ah!
Thanks.
Right.
who is young and more energetic than both our previous committee,
Right.
and she should be able to sort it out and get people more interested.
Right. What relationship does the carnival have with the two parish councils whose area covers it?
Both councils pay a very great interest in the
Good.
carnival
Uh-huh.
and support it monetary wise when required.
Well, that's very good, isn't
And
it?
Sharon can call on them again this year, hopefully,
Right.
if they require assistance with certain aspects of finance.
Right. So when does it take place, the carnival itself?
The carnival's always held on the second Saturday of July.
So this year
So
that's
this year will be
when.
the 13th of July.
But it's not a Friday.
No,
So,
luckily.
right. So it's a Saturday,
It is, yeah.
which is always a good day to have.
Mhm.
And on that basis, you promote it quite well, don't you, the carnival? I mean, unusually, you seem to have come up with a very good wheeze with regards to not only promoting it, but having an income stream. Would that be right?
Yes.
I'm talking about these
Shields.
the shields.
Yeah.
And who's the artist? I mean, it's not that lady who does the scholar pop it over. She's not doing them for you, is she?
No, the artists are, has been
Basically,
myself
John.
for the last
Oh, right.
few years, but we prefer to have people do their own shields.
Yes.
Businesses do their own shields.
Oh, right.
Several of them are brilliant at it.
Yes.
My daughter-in-law has done quite a few of them as well, who's quite a good artist.
Yes.
So
But it needs a touch, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So, on that basis, how many shields do you, or have you been having, sort of year on year? So
between 80 and 100.
that's not bad, is it?
It's
It's not
fantastic.
bad. So, those who take part in this get advertising for how long?
7 weeks.
Really? That's every day,
Every
day on
day
day
for
for
7
7
weeks.
weeks. And do they also assist, say, in the programme or anything, or is that their sort of main input, is the supporting the shields?
Everyone that supports with shields has an item in the programme for their business.
Oh, right. Well, that's very good then. So the programme becomes virtually self-financing, does it, in that regard, or nearly?
Totally.
Oh, well, then that's good.
Yes.
Well, let's not tell them, because they might stop giving. And I mean, our viewer won't tell him, will he? Whoever he may be. So, so we know the when. Where is it held?
It's held at the Trimley Sports and Social Club.
Right.
The actual procession starts on Fogner's Way and works its way up to the Sports and Social Club.
Right.
And then all the events take place on the field at the back of the sports club.
Right. So the sports club has obviously been a big supporter, has it, over the years?
Yes.
Because it didn't. I'm trying to think. I went several years ago when it was being managed by somebody pre you, and it certainly wasn't being. It was on a different field, I thought, somewhere, but Stennets or something comes to mind. Anyway, that's.
I think it was.
that was quite
you know.
years ago.
So the sports club is, well, they're really a community club, aren't they now? Since
Yes,
they've
yeah.
sort of so. I think, John, you were saying that they are an independent community social club.
They are indeed, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So they're run by a local committee, and they do whatever they need to do to
They have
to
their
whatever.
own committee.
Yes.
Because I mean, that end of town, you've got them, you've got the hand in hand, you've got the welcome all. It's quite a community active area,
And
isn't
the
it?
memorial.
Memorial Hall as
Yeah,
well, yeah.
which is very good. It is. And you've got the Mariners not far back, so you could have a little run, couldn't you?
You could indeed.
But we won't go there, will we? Now, so what will be on offer when our visitors get to your, having followed possession, got to the back of the club, what tends to be, you know, your offer year on year? I take it changes.
It has the same kind of format. Obviously, you know, new committee, we will add things.
Right.
We have around 15 stalls, both local businesses and charity stalls.
Right.
There's also a disco, who is a local guy as well. He does a disco every year.
Oh, right.
And
So is that the evening, is it, or all through the day?
No, through the day.
Oh,
through
really?
the day.
Oh, right.
And then there's in front of the disco. There'll be an arena.
Yes.
With various displays such as level 2 dance group. They
Right.
do a dance display.
Uh-huh.
They've done that for several years now, haven't they, John? Local karate clubs, that kind of thing, will put on displays throughout the day.
So really, if there's anybody at all living on the peninsula that's a group or doing something, sort of line dancing or some
Absolutely,
such,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
you'd be more than welcome for them to come along
Yes,
and,
please. Yeah.
and show how superb they all are, and they are, aren't they? And obviously it's an opportunity for them to show what they're doing and for other people to take part, because
That's right, yeah.
I mean, one thing we're hoping to do with the station is get much more information into the community as what is going on, because actually there is underneath an awful lot of things that are going on that people are just not aware of, and it's a question of getting that information out there. So when did you start the planning process?
We met just after Christmas, didn't we? And had a handover meeting.
Right.
And since then we've sort of got the ball rolling, so to
Right,
speak. So
right.
it's all systems go now.
So silly question, and I shouldn't perhaps be asking it. What was your motivation for becoming involved? And added to that is, what is your background that makes you feel that you're quite well suited to this?
Okay. There was a big press release, wasn't there, in the Evening Star about how John and his wife were going to be standing down from the committee.
Yeah.
And there was no one to take it over, basically.
So it would have stopped.
It would have stopped.
Ceased.
It would have stopped.
Another community activity would have gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've lived in Felixstowe and Trimley all my life, you know, and grown up with the Trimley Carnival.
Yes.
And I felt quite saddened that it was going to stop. You know, we've had the sad closure of the spa yesterday, and you know there are empty shops in the high street, and you know we need to keep these. We
need to start
fighting
you know,
for our community, instead of you know sitting back and moaning about it. We've got to be more proactive in keeping the town going. So I spoke to some friends, twisted their arms, and we decided to take it on because we felt so strongly that we want to keep it going for our children.
Okay.
In terms of my background, I've organised quite a few local craft fairs. Recently at Gosling's Farm. And I also organise the monthly craft fairs.
I hate to say it, but I should declare an interest here. My wife took one of those stores.
Did she?
Yeah, she does craft and things, and she and that was a very good session at Gosling's, and I hear they're continuing.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that's the rumour scotched, but we need to go and have a word with, because I mean that's a superb facility for the town.
It is definitely. And I also organise the monthly craft fairs down at Charlie Manning's as well.
Oh right.
On Sea Road. So,
right. You're not going to have anything to do with the boxing.
No, that's not my forte.
No, I didn't mean women's boxing. But I understand there is an interest.
There is an interest.
And we've got to start to have things happening, haven't we, that people might wish to go and do. And
that's
whatever.
Right.
And, so that's grand. So you've got the venue, you've got the date, you're getting together what sort of things may be there. So would it be true to say to our viewer that anybody with an interest or something that they would like to either promote or have a stall, how do they get in contact with you? Do they phone you, email?
They can phone me. We have a new email address now, which is trimleycarnival@mail.com, so they can drop us an email.
Right, would you like to say that again?
Yeah, I will do. trimleycarnival@mail.com.
Right, what about we analogue people who only use telephones and postman pat? What do we do? Because there are becoming two communities. You know, in my view, there are now those who are being. I mean, it's not age discrimination or sex discrimination, or it is actually information discrimination. And those who aren't into the system actually are getting less and less information about what is happening. So how would they contact you? Is there any of the shops in Trimley that could act as a sort of a contact point or something?
Well, certainly in Felixstowe, people can use West End Dry Cleaners, which is my husband's business.
Oh, right.
So if people want to get in touch with me through
that would be a good contact point, wouldn't it?
Contact point, that's fine.
And are you? I mean, we would be more than happy, I think, to facilitate updates.
Yes.
You know, running into the event and hopefully be able to cover the event and do whatever. So going forward, we would hope to support you in strengthening your base, because I think, John, you would agree that it is a slog, isn't it?
Oh yes.
And the more people that are there and the more who take the load, the better. I mean, I was involved several years ago with the Walton Carnival, and that ran very successfully for some years, and then it sort of hit that hiatus of we didn't have a place to meet, etc., and it sort of slid off the end of the cliff. But I've talked to a few folk recently, and they were of a view that perhaps we should revisit whether we could bring the carnival back.
That would be fantastic.
It would be. I think it would depend whether the academy would enable us to utilise the school ground, because Orwell School was always very supportive. Whether that would continue under the current regime, it would be for us to investigate. But it would be nice that, you know, you could kick off, we could come next, Felixstowe could come behind, and then they could all mutually support each other, which is what used to happen to a degree. Like we would end up with sort of at least 3 queens and princesses in the procession, because we had them locally, you know, and we used to get them from further afield, and that really set it off, and the girls love it, don't they?
Yes.
Because we didn't used to have princes. I don't know what you do with that anymore, but undoubtedly that's to come, isn't it? So if somebody wanted to arrange a shield, then they would use that email address, would they, or drop in?
We also do have a Trimley Carnival website as well, don't we, which we'll be updating in the next few weeks.
And that'll give some guidance on size and whatever, and cost and wherever. Right. So what are you really looking for? You're obviously looking for a number of active additional committee members, are you? Or
yes, anybody who feels they have the time to join the committee would be more than you know, willing to take them on.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, I think that sounds grand, and what is really nice to hear is that we have a continuation of a community event. And as you were sort of inferring at the beginning, we may be losing the spa, but we don't know. That's still for the district to make a decision on. But what we do know coming out of the district is this wonderful new local plan and where we may be going into the future. And I think, John, you have some concerns about land and how it will be used, and whether it will be there for events such as carnivals into the future.
Well, certainly yes. I mean, the LDF has been now running for 7 years with very little advantage to anybody, with the exception of a few people on the council in Felixstowe.
Right.
So people need to get wised up as to the fact as what's happening with the LDF. How many houses have
what does the LDF mean? For assuming our young viewer there has no idea what any of this means, because sadly it is unnecessarily complex, isn't it?
Yes, it's a local development of the area, of which basically is going to cover the Trimleys and Walton over with concrete. That's the basic requirement. I think it's now 1,700 houses in the Trimleys, which is rather a lot of houses.
But before we get to that, there must be an obligation on the local authority to use and utilise any brownfield land that we do have within the existing envelopes, both of the town and the parishes.
Correct.
And do we know how many houses that is?
We do, which has been carefully gone into by both councils.
Right.
Totally ignored by certain people in Felixstowe and the county council.
Okay. If I just put something to you, you're aware that there is an application that's about to wind its way through the system. It's the railway approaches, whereby they're looking to locate a 30,000 foot supermarket by Garrison Lane Railway Bridge. That's going into that sort of land. I don't know if you stood on Garrison Lane and looked all the way up to Hamilton Road, but that whole area is filled with emptiness.
Yes.
And it's all brownfield land.
Yes.
So why are we even considering allowing a supermarket to dominate it and deliver no housing whatsoever in a brownfield site? Because we surely have got to be making better use of what we've already got before we start putting buildings on greenfield land.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
But where's the information from our planning department? Is that now a current document? Do we know what they're proposing? And I mean, it's unfair of me to be asking you this, but you have been attending, I understand, the meetings that the inspector has held in public.
Yes.
For what, the last 3, 4, 7 weeks?
Yes.
Quite some time.
Yes.
This is Michael Moore, I believe.
Yes.
And he's gone off cogitating what he's going to say.
He should, in the near future, be coming out with an edict of whether it is sound or not.
Right. And
Not what the website says of the local council at the moment.
right.
It is not sound until he actually says so.
So he's the barrister, he's the legal authority that looks upon all of the discussion and creation of the core strategy, which is the Bible part of that particular document.
Indeed, and that man has been exceptionally fair on both sides, arguing and discussing the LDF.
Right. So the thing that I attended, and it frightened the pants off me, was it was twofold. It was a group, I believe, called the Oxford Economic Consultancy, who did we assume a laptop type process, and decided that the housing numbers could be increased from 7,400 to 11,000.
Yes.
Based on the fact that there were to be 7,000 brand new additional virgin jobs. Did you hear any evidence to back any of that up?
None whatsoever. The two main criteria for new jobs were BT.
Well, we can forget that.
And
sorry, I didn't say that.
and the Port of Felixstowe, which also could be forgotten as well.
Yes, I mean my experience of having only been here for 37 years, my experience of the port, certainly since it went to P&O, is that any development tends to be much more efficient, requiring less people to carry it out. And
Correct.
If you want to increase your profit margins, that's what you're going to have to do.
Exactly.
Is make it more efficient, more automated. But there was, I understood, in this, there was something about Sizewell C, which we did mention at the top of the programme. Now, I've been and had one of their consultations at Woodbridge, and I was assured by the corporate lady that there would be 900 jobs in the operational side after the build. So forget the build, 900 jobs. It then transpired that of those 900, a number would be re-employed from Sizewell A when Sizewell A closes. So they're not new jobs, they're going to be a transfer. So if it's a transfer, one would assume they're already housed. They're not living in tents, are they? They don't commute from Essex by boat. They're already part of the community. And I could not get from the corporate lady just how many new dwellings would be needed to support that, and actually how many real new jobs there were. I don't know whether whether the inspector's in a position to get much more realistic figures, because this seems to be, wishful thinking.
Well, yeah, don't let's confuse the two. So far as Sizewell C is concerned, that never came into the discussions.
It did not?
No,
right.
With the exception of some road usage for the
Right.
A14 and A12.
Okay.
But the Sizewell C didn't come into the LDF discussions in a great.
Right. But if it were, and it was this 7,000 new jobs that I was intrigued by, where they were going to be generated. I mean, if it were factual, well then great for our children and children's children, the whole bit. But if we were to take Sizewell C, and we were to look at this 900 operational jobs when the two stations are running, then one would assume that the figure of 900 isn't the figure that you could deduct from the 7,000.
No.
It would be much less than that.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd still have 6,500 or so out there that are to be created. And one would hope for all our sakes that we do get into job creation. But if they're going to happen, they're going to happen at the southern end of the district, aren't they? Where we do have inadequate infrastructure, but at least we have some. Because what I find very disturbing about Sizewell C is that we're going to be having the nuclear generators that are going to be delivering apparently 25% of the nation's energy needs being serviced by a farm cart track.
Yeah, French.
That's bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I can't imagine any other nation on the planet putting such a facility so poorly served by infrastructure, and we'd be content with that.
Yes.
But that wasn't a part of. So I suppose that would be a part of the Leiston local area plan
Yes,
for it.
it'll be another inquiry, won't it?
Yeah, well,
That has to go on.
undoubtedly. Anyway, can I say it's really good news that Trimley will be out there with a fine procession. We don't really call it a fete, do we? It's sort of more carnival than fete.
It's a carnival.
Yeah. And so you've got a website, and what we'll do is hopefully add to this, which we can do. So we can do contacts, names and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
When young Mark returns and drives the bit and does a bit of editing. So thank you very much for coming in. Is there anything else you would like to say to our viewer with regards to just remind them of the date?
Yeah, it's the 13th of July.
So it's nearly a week after the American 4th of July.
That's right.
So
yeah.
you know, make it as good as that.
Yeah. And just if anybody feels they can help, however little time or a lot of time, whatever you can do to help would be great.
Right. What about the schools? Do they sort of link into you in any way?
We'd like to get them more involved this year. We've got a few ideas that we'll be discussing at the committee meeting.
Because I mean, there's quite a community there, isn't there?
Definitely.
Whatever, and obviously the pubs would. Do you have a beer tent, or is that verboten?
The club have bars.
And that's available as a part
Yes.
of the day?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so it can be. I mean, I spent a little time in Germany in their Schützenfest, Oktoberfest, whatever, and it was community-wise they were brilliant. And obviously you had breakfast and beer, and then more beer and sect. And,
I've been there for the last 30 years.
Well, so we both know what we're talking about. And sadly for us, I suppose, poor old Cromwell sort of destroyed, to a degree, our sort of celebration of fairs and whatever, but we should be bringing them back, shouldn't we? So thank you very much for coming in, and thank you very much, John, and hopefully we'll see you again shortly.
Yes.
So thanks very much. That's Felixstowe Matters for today, the 7th of December 2013, and looking again tomorrow, where I understand we may well be doing that unbelievable tragic 1953 flood where we lost 41 of the residents of Felixstowe. So on that rather sad note, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.